What if I told you that the secret to writing captivating dialogue has nothing to do with making it sound like real life conversation or avoiding exposition? It's actually a straightforward trick I use to transform my writing overnight. So in this video, I'll show you the secret I learned to take my dialogue to a new level so you can do the same with yours. First, I like to show you the #1 thing that makes dialogue good, because ironically, it's also the main element that most screenplays are missing. It makes them fall flat and fail to truly immerse pretty much anyone who reads them. But if you implement it effectively, your writing quality will jump ahead of 90% of other screenwriters. Imagine someone hands you a puzzle. You're excited to put it together, seeing if you have what it takes, but then you open the box and see that they already finished it for you. I mean, what's the point? Now you just have this crappy puzzle sitting in the middle of your living room. But if you can use dialogue to give just enough information to your reader, they'll become so much more immersed in your screenplay because they're putting all the pieces together without even realizing it. But how do you do this? In the movie Titanic, and yes, I know it's based on a true story, but this is a screenwriting chapter. The ship was 52,000 tons, and all it took to bring it down was a single iceberg. When they crash into it, it doesn't even move. How is this possible? I mean, by the looks of it, it's not that much bigger than the ship, right? At least not big enough that it should be able to stay completely still. The thing about icebergs is that the part you see above the surface, it's not even a quarter of the entire iceberg. It's the same thing for your story. The dialogue, the characters, the plot, they're just the tip of the iceberg. What most people forget is that there's at least 10 times more iceberg you can't even see, and that's the part of the iceberg that gives it strength. Those core details that give your story depth are what your readers will figure out as they read through. If your screenplay doesn't have these layers lying beneath the surface, there won't be any substance to give meaning to your story. All these underlying details are known as subtext. The trick is to hide these underlying details using what's known as the iceberg theory from Ernest Hemingway. If you learn how to do this, your dialogue will keep your readers glued to your screenplay as they try to read between the lines and uncover what your characters are really saying. So, how do you add depth like this to your script? Well, try and see how they did it in these examples from some of my favorite movies and TV shows, starting with Whiplash. It takes some time before we actually see how nuts Fletcher actually is. Like, yeah, he's a little snarky and abrasive, but he doesn't seem completely off the rails until he kicks Elmer Fudd out of the room. But even after this, there's a scene where he asks Andrew some information about his past.
Parents musicians?
No.
What do they do?
My dad's a writer.
Oh, what's he written?
I guess he's more of a teacher, really.
Oh, college.
Pennington High School.
What about your mother? What does she do?
I don't know. She left when I was a baby.
This seems like a normal interaction, right? Like Andrew's a new student and Fletcher's just trying to get to know him. But then not 10 minutes later, this happens.
Whose mommy left daddy when she figured out he wasn't Eugene O'Neill, and who is now weeping and slobbering all over my drum set.
Did Fletcher outright say to Andrew, hey, can you tell me this stuff about yourself so I can use it against you and cause you emotional turmoil? No, he comes to him with this sort of like this facade that he's trying to make him feel welcome and comfortable, and yet he just wants to get off on the right foot. Dialogue becomes powerful when characters have hidden agendas. How do you bring this depth into your own dialogue? Imagine one of your characters gets a flat tire and he flags down another driver for help. They chat about where they're from, how their day's been, and they seem genuinely interested. What they don't reveal is that their friend is hot wiring their car in the background and the conversation is just a distraction. Now, every question they ask is loaded with this hidden meaning. It's this hidden agenda that adds layers of depth to the otherwise simple dialogue. And everything seems so innocent on the surface, but because we know the real motivation, every single word carries more weight. The key for this step is to make sure that your characters never say what their true intentions are. Just beat around the bush as much as you possibly can. Here's the next ingredient most scripts are lacking. And without it, your characters will feel flat and your dialogue will lack the depth that actually needs to hook people. This scene was actually the key that helped me understand what subtext even is. And it's from one of my favorite movies, Crazy Stupid Love. The movie kicks off with Cal being the divorced by Emily. He spends most of the movie trying to get over her, but really he's still in love with her. Only we learn he's not alone in this as he thinks he is.
Because I'm in the basement and I'm trying to get the water heater working because the pilot light's out and I don't know how to relight it. So I'm sorry to bother you.
No, it's fine. That's fine. Call me. I'm glad you called about this. I'll just walk you through it, okay?
Okay.
All right, so there's a gray door. You see the gray door?
Yeah.
Okay, just slide that down.
Okay.
There's a red button. The word push on it. I wrote the word push on it. So you push it and you turn it to the right.
I got it.
What sticks out as obvious in this? For starters, she's very clearly not in the basement looking at the pilot light. So why is she asking Cal, her ex-husband who she divorced, how to fix it when she's literally in the dining room? Is she mentally disabled? Maybe, but I don't think that's the case here. If you haven't seen the movie, for a brief synopsis, they were married for a few decades and then they got divorced. And throughout the movie, we see that neither of them are completely over each other. So by the time all this tension builds up and we see into these characters' minds a little, we can tell from the scene that she misses him. But again, what does this dialogue have that most dialogue is missing? If this was an amateur script, it would say something like, "Hi, Cal, I miss you a lot." "Oh, really? Wow, I miss you too." "You do? Oh, well, too bad. I don't want you to know that. Goodbye." How do you avoid amateur dialogue like this? Here's a trick. Write a scene where the characters say exactly what they're thinking, but then strip it down. Instead of a character saying, "I have feelings for you," have them ask something like, "Are you still seeing that guy?" It's more indirect, but the meaning is there. Just keep going until you can convey those emotions without using any words at all. Like maybe the character knocks the girl's lunch off the table when he sees her with someone else. The key is to let the tension simmer beneath the surface. That's where the real magic happens. What's left unsaid makes your dialogue far more interesting. So we've looked at how characters can say or do one thing while meaning something completely different. But this next technique takes that concept even further. And done right, it's the one thing that can elevate your dialogue to a whole other level. This time, I'll be using one of my favorite TV shows, Seinfeld. And this episode is considered the best episode of all time. And I believe this right here is the reason. The episode is called The Contest. And in it, the characters have, well, a contest. They want to see who can hold out the longest without, you know, like, do I need to say it? Just watch the clip.
My mother caught me.
Caught you? Doing what?
You know. I was alone.
Throughout the entire episode, not once do they explicitly say what the context is. Instead, they give you just enough so that the audience can put it together on their own. And this all goes back to having the audience putting the pieces together. It makes them think. As Pixar says,
the unifying theory of 2 + 2. Don't give them 4, give them 2 + 2.
But how can you do this yourself? Well, here's an exercise that I love to do just to practice working on making sure there's subtext in my dialogue. Anna and Mike glare at each other from opposing seats. Their lawyer mediates in the middle. Anna slides a piece of paper over to Mike, never taking her eyes off him. Mike grabs the paper and flips through. A single tear streams down his face. He looks up. Just like that. 20 years means nothing to you, huh? Anna grits her teeth. Just sign it if you ever want to see the kids again. What were you able to deduce from this? They're getting a divorce, right? But I never actually said the word divorce in there, did I? You didn't need me to though. The context, it's all there for you to figure it out. That's what subtext is about. So how can you do this as an exercise? Just write out an entire scene talking about whatever you want, but never actually say what it is. And what's really cool about this is that as you get better at understanding subtext, you start to recognize it playing out in real life. That all the people around you have some kind of hidden motivations and they all have some kind of unique ways of hiding them. What do these different dialogue concepts have in common though? What makes them stand out in ways that most screenplays don't? Well, if you apply this yourself, every line of dialogue you write will be packed with hidden meaning. All these characters have secrets. So does this mean you can just give your character a secret and they'll automatically have better dialogue? Well, no, that's just the first step. If you don't add this element as well, those secrets won't mean anything. Your scripts and characters will be so pointless and none of the words they say will have any impact. Pretend you're the captain of a ship and you're given your first set of instructions. Specifically, they tell you set sail, but you ask them where, and they say just shut up and set sail. And that's it. They don't give you any specifications other than that. They just tell you to figure it out as you go along. What's gonna happen? I mean, you're just gonna kind of mindlessly voyage through the sea without ever actually getting anywhere specific. Similarly, your story is just gonna meander mindlessly and nothing coherent is ever gonna happen if your characters don't have a destination throughout your screenplay. You need to give your characters a specific goal that they're working towards. But what does this have to do with dialogue? There's no such thing as small talk in dialogue. You know, you don't want to add random lines like, hello, how was your day? My day was good, how was yours? Unless all of that somehow demonstrates the character working towards some hidden goal out of the other character. Whether it's trying to seduce a love interest, manipulate someone into getting what they want, or fighting over who is to take the dog for a walk today, they're doing it with some underlying reason. Every line of dialogue needs to reflect the goals they're working towards, and the secrets they have will dictate how they go about these goals. In Whiplash, when Fletcher is questioning Andrew, his goal is to learn about Andrew's past, but his secret is that he's gonna use that information against Andrew. In Crazy Stupid Love, Emily's goal is to talk to her husband, and her secret is that she misses him. But what if you do all this and you still aren't happy with your dialogue? What if you put all these new tricks into your screenplay and for some reason, none of it sits well with you? It's still just bad writing in your head. Well, if you can solve this one problem that every screenwriter goes through, you'll never write another bad word in your screenplay again.